Shalom, family. Shalom. Man, what's going on out there, man? What's cooking with y'all? How y'all feeling, man? Hey, thought I'd come in and just come speak with y'all for a little bit. Man, what's for you is for you, right? Can't nobody stop that. I don't care how much they try. What's for you is for you. When the Most High got something for you, now you can stop that or you can delay it, I should say. But at the end of the day, man, when it's from the Father, it lasts. It sustains. When it's not from the Father, it doesn't last. And that's even if you got longevity for 20, 30 years. I know people who out here from a bird's eye view look like they living their best life. But behind closed doors, they miserable. Money's not everything. Especially if you don't have a purpose and a reason for it. There's so many people out here that's millionaires, billionaires. And I can't speak on all of them. Don't know what they're doing. Don't know what they're doing behind closed doors. Don't know what they got planned. But it's something about being of service and doing the will of the Father that's satisfying to the soul, to the spirit of those who believe and those who are called and chose. Now we understand that this system that we in, just like our flesh, is against the Father. So we got a lot of obstacles, a lot of stumbling blocks. We got things happening in the unseen realm that's trying to cause us to miss out on our blessings. Again, like a Job experience. See, but when you really look at the story of Job, right? He had, but what he had, as I say, God allowed him to obtain it, but it wasn't what God had for him. Even his children. Now, when you really look at the story of Job, Job was always sacrificing for his children. Now, these children of his were children. Think about it. They were adults themselves, meaning that they were accountable for the things that they did. When the dude came to Job and told him that the house fell on his children because they had been most likely drinking and marrying, they went from one brother's house to another brother's house. Who knows what type of stuff they had going on. But Job, being the father that he was, he interceded for them. But we got to understand, we can't keep lingering off the intercession of our mothers and fathers. The thing about Yah, he wants a relationship with you. And you got to create that relationship and space with Yah for yourself. As he said, it's going to be a lot of people that's going to come and say, Lord, I did this in your name. Lord, I did that. He's going to say, depart from me, for I never knew you. A lot of people claiming with their mouths that they love God and they know God, but their hearts are far from him. Why? Because they're not keeping his law, statutes, and commandments. And this ain't going back to the Torah, because Yahushua gave us two main laws. He said, love the Most High Yah with all your heart. He said, those who worship Yah worship him in spirit and in truth. And he said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. These two commandments right here trump everything else that the Father has asked us to do. But my whole thing is, once you do these two, the other commandments fall in line. You're not going to want to steal. I'm not going to say you're not going to have battles, but you're not going to want to disrespect your mother or your father. Because again, you're working on yourself spiritually, so your morals. It shouldn't take for somebody to have lordship over me for me to do right. Even if I'm in public eye or if I'm in private, I should always be continuously doing right because there's always eyes on me. But see, this is why you got prison systems where you got people who got to be lorded over, but they don't understand why they got to be lorded over, because in their mind they grown, in their mind they this and they that. But like I said, age ain't nothing but a number. Being grown doesn't qualify you because of your age. Maturity, that's what it is. Growing in maturity. Like I say again, I see people that's 20, 23, and I get it because like I said, from my understanding analysis, most people don't develop the frontal lobe of decision making really until they about 28. A lot of people ain't making it there because of the decisions that they made before then. But I'm also looking at the story of Joseph. And you see how Joseph went and told his dream to his brothers, his siblings, the people he thought he could trust, the ones he thought that loved him. And look what they did. But because Joseph also had some pride in him. Why? Because he was a favored son. Jacob favored Joseph. Why? Because of who his mother was. So look at us. When we favored by the Most High, this is why I say what's for you is for you. But it's not meant for us to go telling everybody what we got going on, you know. And give or take, it doesn't matter if you do or you don't, because again, can't nobody stop what God got going on. But like I said, you can delay your process. Joseph delayed his process. Or maybe it went exactly the way the father wanted it, right? Just think about that. Because sometimes we'll say, oh, you know, things ain't happening the way I wanted to happen. It ain't happening the way that I thought it was going to happen. Because at the end of the day, Abba sees you more than you can see you. And just like with Adam and Eve, he seen the fall of man just like he seen the fall of the angels. Abba foresees it all. Why? Because he's outside of time. He sees the beginning, the present, and the future. This is why when we looking at right now the life that's taking place, all this stuff that's happening, it's no need to really look shocked. There's no reason for us to be taken aback when everything that's happening is in his word. But when you're not spending time with Abba and you're not spending time with his word, then yeah, all this going to seem strange. All this going to seem out of the way. And now you're not prepared mentally or spiritually. Because now stress starting to kick in, depression starting to kick in. And because when you don't know how to cope, what do? We turn to self-medication. We turn to pleasures and desire. And these are the things that the enemy want anyway. Versus us getting on them knees. Versus us getting into the presence of the Father. Versus us praising and worship. Because he said even when all things take place, count it all joy. We got to go through the long suffering. All this is a character builder. We got to get to a point where we got to let the old person die. And I get it, because, you know, you wrestle with yourself on a daily. Because you've been, and I'm going to speak for myself. Because I've been taught one way from the beginning of my conception of how I should be. It's been plastered through media, through movies, through music, how I should be. But understand that's worldly wisdom. But as I get into this word and as I read what the Father wants me to do in his wisdom, I realize it's opposite and it's opposing the things of the world. This is why it says, if you were of the world, it will love you. But because you're not of the world, it's going to hate you. But remember, it hated Yahushua first. That's why they reject the word. Why? Because they hate Yahushua. The spirits in most people hate Yahushua. Why? Because Yahushua is favored by the Father. And because when we walk in the word and we are covered by the Holy Spirit, we are little Elohims. We are in the image of Yahushua. So meaning people are going to reject not only the word, but they're going to reject us as well. But this comes with the territory. Because look at, even as Yahushua was getting rejected, he got rejected from the people in his own village, from Nazareth. He got rejected even after doing the miracles and the works. But that did not stop him from doing his Father's business. And that's the thing. As kingdom-minded citizens, we have business of the Father to obtain and attend to. So we can't allow the enemy to get us off course or maneuver our thinking or shift our spirit. Yeah, right now you might not be where you want to be. Right now you probably feel like you need to be doing more, but Abba's saying, no, I need you in my presence right now. I need to build you up because it's things that's coming. See, the little things that we go up against, those are just little, like I said, minute testers. We ain't even took that real quiz yet. We ain't really took that big test yet. We ain't come up against that big boss yet. But you say, new levels, new devils. Like I said, Abba got something cooking right now. And boy, when this thing come out, it's going to be good. But for those who understand, we know right now it's time to be in the presence of the Lord. It's appointed seasons and appointed time. A time of reaping and a time of harvest. He said that the harvest is plenty, but the labors are few. Why? Because ain't nobody trying to work. Ain't nobody trying to be about the Father's business. Everybody about their own business. Everybody trying to tend to their own situation. And this is about the parable where Yahushua is about to come and have his wedding feast, and Yah sends out servants to go get what those who are of him. Where'd he go? He goes to the house of Israel first to find those who are willing to come to the wedding banquet. But those who are of the house are not prepared. And why are most of them not prepared? Because of the people who are being taught and led. Your leaders who are teaching you, they ill-advised, or they doing it manipulative. Why? Because just like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they selling their people out for riches, for prestige. When you got real, true, authentic believers out here, they don't have prestige. They don't have the means and the trinkets and things of that's going to lure you in. But all they got is the Holy Spirit, and they walking upright. I got so much love for my brothers and sisters that I see who come on here and they really speaking the word and giving true what I feel in the spirit. Words, prophecy, anointed gifts that was given by the Father to give to us. But then you also have a plethora of people who are just coming in to spy out liberty, or either come in to be a tether, or come in to reap the benefits by false witnessing and teaching. And because most people don't have discernment, at that moment, it's a thing that sounds real good to the ear, what they say, the itching ear, that we get lured in. Like, again, use me for example. When I first came into this walk, it was many people that I was listening to. But over time of me spending time with the Father, He gave me discernment. He would tell me, oh, that individual you need to fall back from. That individual don't listen to no more. Leave that person. Like I said, they were used for what they was used for at that time. But somewhere along the line, they went astray. Like I say, I remember coming there, man, I'm listening to David Lynn. I still listen to David Lynn. Maybe not as much, but I know he's a true individual of the walk. He's a true disciple. I was listening to Steve Furtick. I was listening to the Mike Todds, and over time, Abba slowly, I think after the pandemic, when that hit, I slowly phased out from listening to Steve Furtick. I slowly phased out from listening to Mike Todd. And I don't have nothing against these brothers, but something the Spirit had already forewarned me. And then over time, now, again, I haven't seen too much about Steve Furtick, but something that the Spirit sees that we can't see. But as I see Mike Todd, he's starting to be exposed for doing all type of wild, crazy things. And maybe he just not for me, like they say, everybody got their own cup of tea. Maybe he's just not for me. As the Spirit's putting on my heart, he's trying to take me to a different place. So like I said, people come and people go. Like my brother Jerome, JT, down in Houston. It's a lot of brothers I interact with, have had good conversation with, and I might not indulge in them as much as I used to. But when I do see them, I still give them their regard, because I see that even after years, they still pushing. They still doing the work of the Father. They ain't changed. They ain't sold out. Like I said, and everybody is doing their part, how they doing it. So my thing is just to come and give this encouragement that whatever the Father has for you, it is for you. But don't delay, or don't feel like it's delayed if it ain't happening when you want it to happen. Because everything is on Abba's timing. Look, he told Noah and Methuselah to go preach that word for 120 years. He said, for 120 years, I'm going to strive with man. And he gave Noah and Methuselah 120 years to preach to the rest of the world, to try to get them right. But Abba knew. But this is why he a just God. Even with the angels, when they started to get corrupted by the darkness, Abba still gave them an opportunity. Even after seeing in their heart that they wanted to go a whole different way. They wanted to overthrow him and his kingdom. But he still gave them the opportunity. And this is why I say the Father is a just God. So for those who, talk ill will about the Father, man, you're crazy. But that's your bed, you gotta lie in it. I just pray, man, that strong delusion is broken over the mind of many, because it's a time that's coming like no other. And most people gonna end up just like the rich man. It's the things of this world that they can't let go, that's gonna pull them and drag them to hell. While the poor and the beggars, the fatherless and the widows over there, well, we ain't gonna be in Abraham's bosom, no, because Yahushua came and he took the keys from hell and death. But we're gonna be in heaven. We're gonna be in that place where we needed to be with the Father. Excuse me, forgive me. Because that's where the Father wants us to be. And like I said, even if you don't get what you want to get in this life, man, the greatest blessing out of all of this is to be woken up by the Father and to be redeemed and saved. Anything other than that is an extra, is a plus, you know. But again, Abba knows your heart. As most people like to say, don't judge, God knows my heart. Yeah, y'all know your heart. That's why, again, he got you where you at. That's why he allowing you to go through what you're going through, or he allowing you to do what you want to do, because he knows your heart. The sad part about it is most people don't know their own heart. Like I said, man, if people walk around here and be like, oh, I'm kind, I'm a good person, I don't even realize you dealing with pride, you dealing with lust, you dealing with, oh, my man is a sin, but you trying to cover that up with a sin to say that I'm a good person. See, the eternal work has to be done. This is why Yahushua said what he said to the Pharisees and the Sadducees. See, y'all look good on the outside, but on the inside, y'all filthy. And that's the thing about us as humans. Not everybody, but majority. Most of us worry about our outside appearance. Why? Because the world can see the outside. Most of the time, they can't see the inside. So if I can portray a way that I'm really not, hey, what they say, fake it until you make it, right? But that ain't the way to live. You gotta have integrity. And that's what Abba is really testing us on, our integrity. Who are you when nobody's watching? Are you the same individual? That's where most of our tests come from. But you gotta understand, boy, them demons, they watching. They know what you battling with. They know what you got an issue with. And that's why they're gonna keep throwing it your way. But man, I just wanted to drop this. Like I said, there's some stuff that's brewing up. Abba's gonna bring it to a head. And like I said, man, soon I'm gonna have some merch. And again, this ain't to be trying to advertise to make money for myself. Like I said, anything that I work a job. So my thing is, the money I make or any extra income that comes in, trust and believe, is going to the kingdom, even what I make on my job. Because I know Abba is providing. Abba is making a way. But I know that in the times that's to come, it's going to be where we going to have to help and provide for those who don't have, for those who ain't prepared, for those who can't see. It's not for us to be, oh, you wasn't ready. No. It's crazy because I come from that era of the Care Bears. Yeah, if anybody seen the post that I posted earlier with the young brother, Holy Gabbana, the little short I did. I thought that was just an interesting. Now I couldn't do it with the volume because I couldn't have both of them, but to see that even back then, the prediction of what was already to come. And like I said, I grew up on that. I remember watching that at home, and it was introduced to me in school. This is when school at the time was still having morals and principles, and they still had a little bit of God features, But I look at that as that's the time that I was raised up, where we had care, we had love, we had compassion. To now, I look at this generation where it's just, and I'm not saying all, because I see some young people who have some morals and principles, and they have compassion and love, but majority are on the road to destruction. But this is the generation that the enemy is really plucking from, of building his army. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I think through every generation, the enemy had his pluckings. Just like through every generation, Yah has his. Like I said, every harvest, sheep and goat, wheats and tares. Year after year, the harvest grow to the point where there ain't gonna be no harvest. And that's what we coming to. When you talking about men loving men, women loving women, most people becoming sterile or unfertile. Ain't no more production. When Yah clearly tells us to be fruitful and multiply. And those who can have children don't want to have children because they looking at a world and they see in the direction it's going. But that doesn't mean stop having children. Don't stop being a blessing. Don't stop doing what Abba has commanded us to do, because that's a commandment. Be fruitful and multiply. And like I said, I'm not just saying on the reproductive tip of the physical, but also in the spiritual. Reproduce the fruits of the spirit. Long suffering, love, kindness, gentleness. Going back to, like I said, thinking about the Care Bears. Now I know most people will be, what, Care Bears? See, that's what I said. When you're young minded, you're not mature, you don't understand the concept. Because I ain't gonna lie, as I got older and stuff, I'm like, man, Care Bears. But when I was younger, that was my show. Why? Because somewhere in my spirit resonated. Now, again, I don't know the whole ins and out of that show. I ain't do my whole research on who created it, what their real intentions was. But I seen messages in there, I mean, they was even talking about spirits, and it's just crazy. Like I said, man, this war has been going on for millenniums. Again, before even before most of us even had an inclination, this war has been going on. So, with that being said, man, live your life as a Care Bear. Have love, have compassion. Now, again, I see that they came out with some new version, Care Bear Cousins. I'm sticking to the original. I don't know nothing about all the other stuff, all the other Care Bears, whatever. And again, this might not resonate with everybody, but like I said, Abba wants us to walk in the fruits of the Spirit. So when I seen the Care Bears, I was like, wow, they were actually walking in the fruits of the Spirit. These was bears who had the fruits of the Spirit. This is what Abba wants us to have. As I watch David Leonard, I watch other street preachers like Nick Bowen, and they go out there and they have a resolve about them where even when people shout and scream and spit and threaten, all these things, but they still standing in love. I don't know about anybody else, but if I was a newborn Christian and I seen that right there would draw me in, because I would see the boldness, I would see how they standing on business, and if I can see through the mirage of insults and basically the delusion that the enemy try to put in the mind of people, I see the love, I see the compassion, I see the long suffering. And that's why I say, with me, I know Abba is still working on me. So that's why I say sometimes we can delay our own process because there's still things in us that we got to get out. And I'm going to close on this, going back to Joseph. I can go to Joseph and I can go to Moses. Like I said again, Moses, you might say about 80 years before he became a leader to Israel. Now, I could be off, but I know he did like 40 years in the book of Jasher. When he left, he became a king over there to the Cushites. Mess around, after he left the Cushites, he ran into his father-in-law Jethro, spent 10 years in the prison there for whatever reason. Jethro thought he was dead, but he was still alive, and they're praising the Lord because Jethro had him in there basically without food, but God put on the heart of Jethro's daughter to feed him while he was in prison. So of course, Jethro thought he was dead, and that's, I don't, like I said, that's just what I read in the book. I don't know what was the purpose or reason. I think something happened. But also the staff of Joseph was in that garden. And that was the staff that Moses took. But look at Joseph's story where he gets accused by Pilate. But let's go from the beginning, where his brothers basically put him in a hole. Now he's in slavery to Pilate, probably there for what, maybe 12 years, 10 years? I don't know. I got to go back to really know. But he was there for a little while. Then he's in prison for about 10 years because of Pontius Pilate's, am I saying it? Potiphar's wife. You know, then now he's able to get in the presence of the king or the Pharaoh, and he's moving into his position. Moses. Look at Abraham. It took Abraham 100 years before he got what he needed. That's what I'm saying. We put the time limit on when we think things are supposed to happen. Why? Because the enemy put little plants, as I call them, supplanters, in the system, in the game, because they done already chose their walk with the enemy. So the enemy is blessing them, and we looking at it like, man, well, I supposed to been did this. You know, we see a lot of these young cats now in their 20s early getting all this money, but a lot of them don't have the morals and principles. So again, the enemy can easily sway their mind and use them the way he wants. And because I know social media ain't nothing but a dream killer, put you into anxiety and depression, because you sitting up here scrolling and you looking at everybody's life and how they living and what they doing. And I'm not saying everybody not a child of God, because there's some people out here who got the good life and doing what they need to do, and they are children of the Most High. But majority of who we see are not. So all I'm saying is, man, what's for you is for you. Right now, Abba is asking his children to spend time with him, listen to him, meditate on his word, and be in his presence night and day. So with that being said, man, I just wanted to lead us a word of encouragement. Abba love you. I love you. Shalom.